Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyards channel. My name is Charisma and today we're meeting in the garden and we're going to do a little perennial cutback. As a reminder, we live on the Oregon coast in a zone 9A, but we live in a very temperate climate. It's been raining for a couple of days and fall is in the air. I know we're a little ways out from the actual fall equinox, but it's definitely on its way. The temperatures have dropped significantly at night. It doesn't really get very much warmer than 60 degrees in the daytime. And, you know, even in our 10-day forecast, even though it will be more sunny, it won't be very warm. I just want to get a head start on my perennial cutback. There's a lot to cut back in the fall. We do not freeze here. Our frost comes in early December, but we don't really normally get like an actual freeze. Last winter we did get an ice storm. It was a little bit of a freakish thing. We might get a little bit of snow for like 2 days maybe in the winter time, but that's not even a guarantee. What happens though is we get tons and tons of rain, and all of our perennials they do what we call melt. And what that means is they just turn into black and brown mush, and they get slimy and gross to deal with. They never just like freeze and get hard and you could just pop them out of the ground, like, or snap them off at the root. They just get gross and slimy, and they're really hard to cut back that way. So I like to get a head start on it while things are still dry and maybe looking a little bit like they're alive, but just super tired. Take this rose campion, for example, right behind me. You can see that there are still pink blooms on it. They're still doing a plenty of bloom show, but there is more seed pods developed than there are flowers, and the lower area looks really tired. All the leaves are dead, like all brown and gross. They're not gross yet, but they're just like, they're looking very dry and dead. And you could see here, there's no more buds being developed in the crotch of the branching, which is where I normally see new buds being developed. This one's going into seed. This one, oh, that one was a seed. These are seeds. They just haven't fully developed yet, which is fine because I don't need any more rose campium seeded all over the garden. So we'll be cutting down things like that kind of still look okay, but I know in the next week they'll be done, and I have the time to do it now. So I'm just gonna go through and we'll go section by section, and I'll show you what I'm gonna get done. I'm gonna work for about an hour and see how far we go. In this section over here, we're gonna cut down the rose campium. We're gonna cut down the Pearly Everlasting, and I will save all of these flowers for tea or dried flower arrangements. So we will be saving the flowers, but we'll be cutting down the plants. We may cut down a couple of hostas if they look pretty ragged in the areas that we're working in. I have some lilies that are ready to just be cut back. These ones could go a little bit longer to photosynthesize, but like I said, I just have the time to do it now, so I'm just going to cut them back. The daylilies have started to turn. They're not like all the way dead like they would be here, but they have photosynthesized enough, in my opinion, and I'm going to cut those down as well. Same with the kafirs back there. There's new growth coming up from the kafirs because they typically bloom in the fall and early winter or late winter. But I want to clean up all the foliage that's kind of like laying down there. We've got some bleeding hearts in here that could be cut down. And there's a I don't know, there's a couple other things in here that could be cut down. Oh, I could cut back the hollow bore, that their old leaves can be pulled off. Over here, same thing, daylilies and Asiatic lilies can be cut down. And then on this Edgeworthia, I waited too late to do a good hard prune job on it, and it's already starting to develop next year's flowers because they start blooming in November. But I do want to get it off the pathway, out of that pathway, and kind of take a little bit off the top. Yeah, so I'll do what I can there. But that's what this section is going to look like, and we'll talk about the next section when I'm done with this one. I mean, you could see them. They're just on every single tip. There's flowers coming on. So what this plant does is it turns super bright yellow with fall color, and then it drops all of its leaves, and then it starts blooming at the end of December and blooms through March. So it's a great plant to have in the garden. It's just, it got twice as big as I thought it was going to, according to the tag. It's fine. It's just, you know, we have to do a little work around here. Well, that project took me just a little under an hour. And then I had to go do some things. So I'm back and we're gonna move into the next part of the project. We're just working our way down the front yard today and cleaning up perennials. I wanted to mention that I'm not doing like an exact job on like making sure these perennials are put to bed for the season. It's just cleaning up all the tired things. Sometimes I find it's easier to just cut things back as they get tired, and I can clearly see what needs to happen in the garden rather than being distracted by like things that need to be deadheaded and things that need to be taken care of. If I take care of things in big chunks at a time, I just find it easier. So like, I know I need to mulch, I also need a weed, but I didn't want to get distracted by doing those things or starting to weed and realize that I'm gonna make a big mess cutting back perennials. So I kind of just do things in chunks like that. Here you could see that the Rose Campion's been cut back, the Pearly Everlasting's been cut back. We cut back the Bleeding Hearts and the Forget-Me-Nots, as well as the bridal wreaths and the Lenten Rose. We cleaned up some grass and weeds out of the Nephofia. We cut back the lilies and some of the daylilies. I did leave some foliage up on each clump of daylily just to give it a chance to photosynthesize. But I cleaned up all the like totally dead ones, and we'll just keep working on it as it goes. Cut back lilies back there and daylilies. And we did a little trim work on this Edgeworthia. And then I deadheaded the sunflowers. The next thing I'm gonna do is move into the bed in the front. And yes, I realize that we have all these irises that need to be cleaned up. Tomorrow morning, Spencer and I are gonna get out here and we have our sights set on digging and dividing bulbs, corums, and rhizomes. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed, because we're going to be doing that as a whole separate project. Today I just want to, like I said, just clean things up so I can clearly see what the next steps are. It's getting quite windy here in the afternoon, so not sure if it's threatening to rain. The forecast doesn't say rain, but it is getting quite windy, so we'll see how long I stay out here. We transplanted this goat's beard like last month, and 2 of them just like immediately completely died. This one died sooner than it would have if it would have been left in the ground, but it did stay green for quite a while and did get a chance to photosynthesize, so I'm happy about that. But we're gonna cut it down today, just to make it look cleaner. We've got to clean up the rose campion back there, and then I think that'll just kind of be it for this bed. Oh no, I'm gonna cut back the lady's mantle in here, and then I've got lady's mantle in here to clean up. More irises and gladiolas, those will be taken care of tomorrow. And then more rose campion along the road here. It's starting to rain. Okay, I'm taking refuge underneath this staghorn because all of a sudden it just started raining really hard. Maybe it's just gonna be like a quick summer shower, and we can move into the garden in a few minutes. We'll see what happens. Well, even though rain kind of puts a monkey wrench in my plans, I'm super grateful that I no longer do this as a living, because I don't have to work in the rain. I don't have to go put on my rain gear and get wet and muddy. I could just wait and do it another day, or wait for the sun to come out. Yeah, it just makes me super grateful that I garden at home. Okay, that lasted like 20 minutes, which gave me time to strip the leaves off of the Pearly Everlasting and get them hung up on the dried flower rack. And I just sat in the living room and did that while I watched a video from Dig Plant Water Repeat, one of my favorite YouTube channels. Yeah, it was perfect timing, and now the sun's out and it's beautiful, so we're gonna keep on going with this project, starting with the goat's beard here. And again, I'm back down to having about an hour to work in the garden, so yeah, we'll just get as far as we can today. There's always more work to do, but it feels really good to get a lot of those tired looking plants cleaned up a little bit. And tomorrow when we dig up all of our bulbs and corms and rhizomes, it's going to make a really huge difference. And I will explain to you why we're digging them all up, because we are in a zone 9A. We don't need to pull them out of the ground for winter. We just have a project that we want to work on that is going to change how the front yard looks. And I want to save a lot of the flowering a lot of the flowers that we grow, but they're just not going to get to live where they do now. So now is the time, as the foliage has died down, the flowers are all done blooming, it's time to dig them out of the ground. And in other climates, we might be storing them in a cool, dry garage or shed or something like that, which is what we'll probably do with most of our bulbs that we pull out tomorrow, and then we'll replant in the spring when it's time to plant them, or later this fall, depending on what we pull out. But that's for another video. Today I'm really glad that we just got some things cleaned up. I'm going to show you what all we got done, and that will be it for today. We just deadheaded some things out here and out there. Got rid of the goat's beard. It's a perennial, so the roots are under the ground, and I expect them to come back next year. Deadheaded the sun credibles. Those are annuals. Those will not come back next year. And like I said, all of this is going to get totally cleaned up tomorrow. We cut a ton of dead off of this Lithidora. It looks a little funky right now because I messed with it so much, but it'll settle down and look normal again in no time. And this one, I didn't mess with it as much, but I did cut a bunch of dead off from underneath the Hebe there. In the front, the biggest change is we took all of the lady's mantle down. I did leave like some of the new growth, so it will push out new growth and fill in that crown pretty quickly. I did the same thing over here. It was a little bit more dead, so there's not as many fresh leaves showing, but that it'll just flesh back out. They were just starting to get a little powdery mildew. They definitely had some like burnt leaves, and they were just tired. The blooms were definitely done. The other thing we did is we took down the rose campium all along the road, all the way down. And then on the inside here, I just did a little bit of a cleanup on the bay topiary. I don't know, this might be like a one-sided topiary because it doesn't have a branch in this middle piece on this side. Not sure what to do about that. Yeah. Anyway, and then I took the tops off of this lemon balm because it was starting to bloom. And I removed the loose strife flowers that were just about to go to seed. They do self-seed, and there's a good enough patch there. I don't need it seeding any further. And then I also took down the Nymphophia right here. And there are new blooms pushing, so I didn't take those out, but I did take out the ones that were tall and starting to go down. Just some more rose campium there got out, and that's it for today. This is a Crocosmia that is a corum. We will be digging that out tomorrow. And then we've got gladiolas that are going to get dug out. We've got irises that are going to get dug out. One other thing that I did cut all the way back was the catmint behind the rose gardens. We've got roses in here. And then I cut down the patch of catmint down there. It just starts getting kind of leggy and funky looking this time of year, just tired, you know. We do still have these really tall alliums just hanging out there. I can't believe they're still standing upright after all the rain and wind and everything that we've had in the past week or so. But those will also be dug up and stored for winter tomorrow. So as we've looked at this a couple of times today, but this area probably has the biggest change as far as removing plant material and just helping it breathe a little bit. We decided to leave the hostas and let them photosynthesize a little bit longer. I'm sure they're going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks, but those are Spencer's babies, and we'll just let them go for a little while longer. Got this area all cleaned up. It just looks so much cleaner. All the lilies are down, the daylilies, and the Nephofia is all cleaned up. Got all the foliage for the bleeding hearts all cleaned out. Just looks a little cleaner. And we limbed up the Edgeworthia and gave it a little bit of a shape. It's kind of one-sided because I've got this little path going right here. And then I kind of let it go over here. I suppose I could limb it up so it's a lot more vase shape, and maybe I'll do that next year if I'm diligent about doing it right after it blooms, because like I mentioned, there's just hundreds of little blooms already coming on. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you join us tomorrow when we dig out all of the iris, crocosmia, lilies, alliums, gladiolas, because in that video I will also tell you why we're gonna do it and what things are gonna change. We have a couple of like 2 fairly good-sized projects that are gonna happen out in the front of the garden that I'm hoping to get to this fall. That will just kind of change the look, because we've been here for 7 years and I'm just ready to like make things different and fresh and exciting. That's the beauty of gardening, is that we get to keep reimagining our lives and our spaces and make them even more beautiful and make them work for our lifestyle. So I hope you're enjoying the end of your summer and you're celebrating your life, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.